right. Well, yeah, let's just jump into it. How you doing, man?
Not too bad. Day off today. I work 5 days a week at everyone's favorite retail chain. Uh, Black Friday's gonna be fun. Yeah, now it's a
Oh, I
month long.
bet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got
Last
I got my
weekend,
shirt on too right now, so we're
oh,
it's already starting to pick up. I'm
actually,
a little worried
speaking of,
for what's coming, but
I actually recently got this in the mail. Dale Jarrett's 2001 car as a Christmas ornament.
nice.
I've decided that my Christmas tree is gonna be early NASCAR themed, which
Okay.
means I told my girlfriend Dale Earnhardt's gonna be the star, quite literally.
Nice. Yeah, that's yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned memorabilia. I was just reminded, I think you know, it's very unique that I can recall the first time I met somebody that I met through the internet, or the first time that we interacted or anything. Like, I'm thinking, like with Will here, we were editing Wikipedia. I can't remember the first time one of us messaged each other, whatever. It's just you just kind of crossed paths one day. But with you, I remember it was the top shelf diecast car, which I've got right here, the Will Rogers car.
Oh man, I still can't believe you put down a Dodge.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's the least of its problems. You see this rear end
the
here?
bumper's the wrong color. It doesn't fit. Oh,
Oh man, yeah.
and,
The
and people
contingencies are wrong. Like everything is.
people paid them to make them like that.
Oh,
Man.
yeah, I paid him. I mean, yeah.
It reminds me of Mr. Good Looks 1. I don't know if you remember that, but he was charging like $30 for a Sharpie custom. It was incredible.
Yeah. Well, he definitely got me. I mean, I've told this story. I mean, I've told the story to you before, but for the sake of people listening, and if you're listening to the audio, I'm showing I've got this Will Rogers diecast that is supposed to be the car he won with in New Jersey in 2018, and it's a beautiful paint scheme. Kelly Benefits strategies. Just look it up. It's a very nice car, but it was on a Ford. It was a Ford for Jefferson Pitts Racing, and basically I had ordered a couple of cars from Top Shelf before, and in complete fairness to him, they were decent enough that I was willing to try again. So I thought he did an all right job, and it wasn't ridiculously overpriced. So he said for $27 I can get you this Will Rogers car, but it's got to be on a Gen 6. And I was like, fine, whatever. And then he sends me the renders, and I'm like, you know what? I think you're modeling it off of a scheme he actually did run on a Gen 6 earlier in the season. I really want this car, because I was at this race and everything. And is there any way you can put it on Gen 4? And he's like, let me get back to you in a day or whatever. And so then he says, so I know this sounds silly, but I don't even have a template made for Gen 4, so it's going to cost you $20 extra. As if templates for Gen 4s don't even exist from anywhere else. But so I negotiate with him. He brings it down to 17, and so I end up shoving up $44 for this, which is easily the worst purchase I've ever made in my life. But at least it's a good story, and he shared it on his Instagram, which is what you I think you put it on your story after he shared it, and that's
Probably
the first time I messaged
like,
you. And
I probably commented all like 80 things wrong with it and got blocked. Like
yeah.
anybody who showed.
I remember when he blocked you. Yeah.
I think he did on like 2 accounts too.
Yeah. Oh man.
The topic of Jefferson Pitts Racing though scares me because they're actually, whichever one owns the 7, I think it's Pitts. But
yeah, I think you're right.
Is, according to diecast fans, that everybody's stupid hard to find K and West driver is getting a 3rd promo.
Yeah.
This set me back $80 because it was only released in the Tokyo Auto Salon. They released the Gazoo Racing Garage car in Japan only. And that just, oh man, it made my West collection skyrocket in price.
Yeah. Well, I don't even know. I know I have one of those. I guess I probably have the one that wasn't a
Yoshino Kanbai car from Iowa.
Probably. Yeah. I got it off of eBay for 25. So
yeah, that was the one he was selling on like his website and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I got that that Rossi Manor car set me back, way too much. I don't even want to say the amount on here, but
like what, near $400?
No, it wasn't quite that bad. It was but it was a sizable, let's just say it was a sizable amount of money that I don't need to be purchasing any more F1 cars anytime soon. But that was a really special car to me. So shameless plug here. The video will probably be out by the time this is going up, but I'm working on a video, with these Andretti F1 Sauber rumors that seem to have died down. I hear they're not completely dead yet, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. But everybody's been talking about Colton Herta, so I've been making the case for a long time. If we get an American driver on the F1 grid, it's only going to help grow this surge in popularity even more. So I'm bouncing around a video idea there. So I'm hoping to have that out this weekend, but this will probably go up sometime next week. So it's probably already out now if you want to go check that out. But we should probably I know you got a little bit of a time constraint tonight, so I want to get into your story a little bit, and then I'm sure we can spend the rest of the time ranting about playoffs or stages or whatever you want. But
I'm good at
sure
that.
you got a lot to say about those.
Very talented.
Yeah. But you started out with this HMiller Motorsports account, which was, I think, one of the best K&N West Series fan pages or social media accounts, whatever you want to call it, on Twitter and Instagram. So kind of, I guess, to start, tell me how that project got started and then how it evolved into what you're doing now with AZ Sports Car 80.
So originally that was for league racing. I joined NASCAR 14 leagues a bit too late. So the whole thing was I was going to run an unsponsored 80 car in every league, but once you get the NASCAR heat, the paint booth was terrible, so you couldn't really do anything with it. And about that time, probably 15 or 16, I already started attending K&N West races, and then factoring in that I didn't really have anything going on for league racing. So I basically thought, okay, what if I use this to promote the series I like attending? That's basically what it turned into. In high school, I had enough time to do a Track Fact Tuesday, Throwback Thursday. I used to like happy birthday like every driver to ever race. The Scheme Saturday, that one I'm kind of trying to keep up with this new account. But I eventually thought about when they were going back to Las Vegas, I was thinking, oh, dirt, first time since like 1970 something. Wouldn't it be cool if they did throwbacks? And so I literally drew up like about 40 throwback schemes. And one of them, which I was terrible at the time with GIMP, so I came up with a loose concept of a car that they reworked to be a bit more accurate. But it ended up with me actually having logos I designed put on a car for Cody Vanderwall, and that lasted about 3 laps because of track prep. Don't know how they did such a bad job. It's not like the dirt track hosts races or something, Dirt late models, I've never heard of those. We'll just keep a dirt track in the back in case we ever need it someday. Last year it slowed down a lot, and I haven't been active on it at all lately because work, my schedule changed to the point that it's hard to even be able to watch the race live most of the time. I attended Phoenix in the spring. That was the first race my girlfriend ever attended. I watched Irwindale, I think part of Vegas, Sonoma. I missed Colorado. I know that. Joey East won it though. That was neat. And I should be attending the season finale on the 6th, which is also her birthday. $50 to attend an ARCA West race. That's the most I've ever paid. 35 was the typical for Irwindale, 25 for the opener. But the C36 car field for the finale is pretty nice because last year having 11 cars every week was quite depressing and made me feel like the series was going to die. But hey, we bounced back to 20, so we're like 2016 numbers now. We still don't have Portingay. John Krebs, he was a good team, well, mid-pack team, but they're doing the Madeira series thing instead because, for some reason, NASCAR always thinks we have to overprice the competitor because smaller car counts and less merchandise will definitely drive up sales and help teams be healthy. I know I was reading about
for the sport, right?
Yeah. I know I was reading about how the Cup teams get charged like $20,000 to $40,000 a trailer. And it's like, wow. And then you wonder why there's 3 trailers to choose from now, compared to like every single driver having one, the teams having one, and having just a giant parade of merchandise outside of the racetrack.
Yeah. Well, I remember when we went to Dover in 18, I think like Chase Elliott had his own trailer and Kyle Busch and maybe Truex. I know Furniture Row wasn't like part of the RTA or whatever. So they were a little bit different, I think, anyway. But you know, like even William Byron and Alex Bowman had to share, even though they're both, you know, Hendrick drivers, and Hendrick is like one of the top teams in the sport. And you know, the Ganassi and Childress teams were sharing a hauler. Like, I mean, it was just. And I remember I went in 2012 as well, and pretty much like you were saying, every driver had their own hauler and everything. And you know, it's just a stark contrast to that. You know, all the big names still had their own, but you know, even some of the smaller names for the big teams had to share, which was you know, I didn't know how to feel about that. But yeah, it's frustrating to see that it seems like it's only gotten worse. I haven't been to a race since then, you know, unfortunately, just with COVID and everything, and my schedule's not lining up. But I want to go back, but I'm afraid maybe the merchandise selection won't be nearly as good.
Yeah, you should come out to Phoenix. You know, I think Ethan's going to be there. Maybe if I'm
Yeah,
lucky.
you
I'll
know, I
find
mean,
him.
I really want to. Like, I'm seriously taking a look at the 22 schedule. I don't know. Maybe there's you know, Joe from Grid is going to be back in Portland. So there might be a chance. I don't know if I could fly out there and do some stuff with him or something. And you know, I'm writing for Brock now. He always goes to Sonoma, so I want to get out west. You know, at some point. You know, Phoenix might be an option there as well, but we'll see. You know, who knows? 36 cars is going to be a lot of fun to watch. You know, seeing that entry list come out.
Oh
Although I have
man,
to say, it has been kind of amusing the last couple of years. Like, I'm just picturing like some of these smaller teams, like, you know, Bobby Hillis or Bridget Burgess or some of those teams, you know, on shoestring budgets compared to like the BMRs and Sunrise Fords and everything. Like, imagine going home and people ask you like, how'd you do in your race today? And they're like, well, I was the second to last car, but I still got a top 10 because there were only 11 cars on the track. So
the Brad Smith way of success. Just enter the race and you'll get top 5 in points.
yeah, real. I mean, Brad Smith's going to finish fifth. I did finish fifth in points, right? Season's over now.
I don't think he
Unbelievable.
finished higher than like 10th, maybe.
I think he got a couple 11s. The car counts were short enough. It was a big deal last year when he got his top 10 finally, but yeah, you know, I mean, I mean, they're racing for pennies on the dollar compared to the Venturinis and DGRs and everything. And of course, Ty Gibbs was, you know, a freaking cup team out there.
I've always thought it was crazy how you always have these like dirt modified races, 50,000 to win. Then you look at the ARCA guys and they're racing for 5K and you're like, what the hell happened? You know, NASCAR is supposed to be this million upon millions of dollars. They own all the tracks. They, you know, have all these merchandise rights, TV deal, and they have so many series, but like most of them are just kind of like left out there to dry, you know? The trucks are racing for nothing. It's only really Cup and Xfinity that's making any money, but I mean, I still can't figure out how a truck team operates. I know I looked up Bush and he had said it was like 3.2 million a season. And if you do the math, that's about 139,000 a race, racing for 10 grand.
Yeah, well, I remember Keselowski came out and said right before he closed his team, like, you know, you basically have to be able to lose money if you want to run a successful team here. And he was saying he lost like $1 million on his team one year or something like that, which then you wonder, well, yeah, how is that for anybody? You know, whether you're a top team or, you know, the guys at the back starting parking, you know, it's like, how are you getting by, you know, if the purses are this small? And the other thing is, like you were saying, you know, you got these late model races that are paying tens of thousands, or you know, that even the NASCAR Heat Pro League, I feel like was giving out sizable
like 100
purses.
grand for the championship or something like that.
Yeah, or like iRacing too is like, or the Coke Series, whatever it is. And like, if they have the means to do that, like, I mean, that's not the problem necessarily to me. The problem is that they're getting paid the amounts that they're getting paid, but it's $3 grand to win an ARCA West race, or it's $5 grand to win an a big ARCA race, or it's only 20 grand to win the ARCA race at Daytona, or whatever it is, a ridiculous amount like that. That's more the issue to me, is that if these sim racers can get, you know, double or triple what the ARCA teams are getting on a good day, then that's a really troubling sign.
I know one thing I always think about is what if they had like a car that could run everything? Because back in the late 90s, I mean, you could run an ARCA car in a cup race. You could run a cup car in the West race. That's what like Green and Wallace did, I think. I know Wallace had failed to qualify for the inaugural cup race. So he brought it over, qualified it, and made the West event. And you don't really see that anymore. I mean, if you could theoretically run a car in Cup, Xfinity, and ARCA, you could bolster fields. I mean, the only issue you'd have is being able for the ARCA teams to afford it, but you see it trickle down with, okay, the teams are getting a new car, the next gen's coming in, so they're selling all the Gen 6 stuff, and all the lower teams are buying these out, converting them for their cars, helping to bring up the level of competition, bring in more teams, bring in more cars. And I've always felt that if you could get them all on this one platform, they could all help support each other. You know, think about the Daytona 500. We see what, 40, 42, 44, maybe cars a year. Nothing compared to like 52, 64, you know, the high amounts you had going into as late as like 2011. And if you could theoretically bring an Xfinity team, ARCA teams and stuff, try to get into that event, you could bolster the field, bring in more storylines, bring in more excitement. But then again, you have the charter system, which means that only 4 guys are in danger. So there's nothing really to fear or get excited about.
Well, yeah,
Like,
but Hunter, I mean, you can't just show up in the NFL and play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You know, you got to work your way up. You know, that's why the charter system is going to be so great. You know, it protects the teams that, even though Furniture Row just closed a year after winning a championship, it's going to protect the teams that, you know, yeah, whose genius idea was that? But yeah, no, I mean,
Kaufman, the guy who almost killed somebody at Le Mans.
Oh yeah,
Great guy.
Yeah, good old Rob, right? Yeah, Rob Kaufman.
Love him. These
Everything's great.
backmarker teams are lowering the price of mine.
Yeah, well, I mean, just getting back to what you were saying. Yeah, I mean, I remember 2007, 61 cars showed up. You know, 18 of them had to go home, and that was like, you know, it felt like qualifying actually means something. You know, racing your way in for the duels actually, you know, is a significant achievement. And now, you know, you just have to go beat one driver, or you can be like, you know, Ty Dillon this year and actually go ahead and beat that driver. But because the driver that was already in also raced their way in, it goes back to the guy that was next fastest on Sunday instead of the guy that actually just finished him in transfer spot in the race or was next. Or I mean, it's just such a needlessly complicated system. I remember like in our group chat, we were trying to figure out like, how is Ty not in the race, you know, and it's so overly complicated.
It's funny though, because it used to just be like, I don't know if I know it's always been like stupendously complicated for the 500, but you throw in guaranteed spots, this and that and this and that. If you finish 4th in your duel, how are you not in the race? That makes no sense, because it's the whole race your way in. Okay, he made it in, but because somebody else was faster and he raced his way in behind him, he's now out of the race. Just doesn't logically make sense.
Yeah. Well, didn't it used to be like top 30 on Sunday are locked in, and then the rest have to race their way into the duels?
It was like top 2 are locked in Sunday, top 30 are locked in via the duels, and like the rest are decided by provisionals.
Well, right. Yeah.
It something insane. So it was like blocks of the field were decided differently, working their way down, you know, like the past champion stuff. And you
well,
the
front row would get locked out on Sunday.
Yeah.
Like those two had their spots sealed up. Everybody else it was based on. I mean, you
qualified.
qualified. You started a duel based on your qualifying time, and then I don't know, but now it's hardly worth it for an open team. So it's a miracle we have any, you know, bumping, if you will, at Daytona these days. You know, so.
And it's funny. NASCAR is like all about, we want to be entertainment. We want to be exciting. It's like, what do you find more exciting? The Gatorade duels, or when Kyle Kaiser, he's 33rd to go out, or 36th to go out. He has to just make his way into 33rd. Sitting in 33rd is McLaren and Fernando Alonso. And Kaiser goes out and he's putting laps fast enough to put down Alonso, but he's getting slower. And it's just like, is he going to make it? Is he going to make it? He hits the line. And this team that didn't even think they were going to make it, they converted their road course car just days prior, just bumped out one of the biggest teams in all of motorsport. It doesn't get any more Cinderella story than that. Meanwhile, in NASCAR, you have, okay, so all these small teams are battling to get in, but there's only like 6 of them battling for 4 spots. I wonder who will make the Daytona 500. Dale Jr.'s in, Jeff Gordon's in, William Byron's in. Anybody you like, they're going to be in the race. Don't worry.
Yeah. Well, like, I mean, and that's that's the thing. Like I can tell you with 100% certainty that unless something absolutely crazy or tragic or whatever happens, Chase Elliott will be starting on the 2022 Daytona 500 grid.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you with 100% certainty that Scott Dixon or Will Power or Alex Palou, who just won the championship, or Elio Castroneves, who just won his fourth 500. I can't tell you with 100% certainty that they're going to be on the 2022 Indy 500 grid. And that to me is what makes the Indy 500 qualifying system so special, is Indy doesn't care who you are. Every single driver has to come back every year and earn their spot in. And in NASCAR, you can look at who has a charter and there's 30, 60, or 40 spots decided right there. So 90% of the field, we know already as soon as the entry list comes out, okay, these drivers will be in. These guys are racing for the last 4 spots. And it takes so much of the draw away. It's like, unless you're a fan of the underdogs, why do you really have to watch for duels? Because, qualifying doesn't matter as much. You can work your way up through the draft and the race and everything. So what's the draw for the duel races like there used to be?
Yeah, it's always funny how they try to take out the natural drama and add in more manufactured drama. Like personally, I couldn't care for stage racing. When they announced it, I remember NASCAR's got a big announcement. My buddy Jason Strain, he was like, "Oh, I hear they're gonna do halftime," and I'm like, "No, that'd be stupid." And I remember exactly where I was when it happened. It was like January 2017. I'm in my video production class. I just came in. Right before I start working on my stuff, I'm going to go on Google or whatever the Apple version is. Probably still is Google. I'm going to go look up NASCAR, see what they're doing. Stage racing. We're going to stop the race midway to make it more exciting. And the first thing I thought of is, this is like an insult to the teams. It's like you're saying they don't try, that we got to stop the race because they're not trying. That's why they're so spread out. It's ignoring strategy. It's ignoring the difference in equipment. The idea of we got to be football always keeps coming back, and it drives me insane. Just because you were number 2 once doesn't mean you're going to be number 2 again. And you just see the ratings decline further and further every year. I mean, yeah, the Kansas race got more viewers than Formula One, but Formula One got more attendance than the Daytona 500, your championship event, any big event in your entire series, which is set in America, got beat by the worldwide series. And then on top of it, you just lost 400,000 viewers and they just gained 400,000 viewers. Yeah, you're still winning, but you're losing the battle. The war is slowly going away.
You're trending in the wrong direction and the other guys are trending in the right direction.
I know Elliott Sadler posted, "Oh, wow, well, there's only one race in America and that's why it's so big." But NASCAR events used to feel huge when I was a kid. I remember just tuning in. Oh, it's Winston Cup racing. The stands are packed. There's fans everywhere. Everybody's hyped, ready to go. And I mean, you'd only get like one race in California, one race in Phoenix, one race in Texas, one race in Kansas. And all the tracks with 2 races were mostly Southeast, where most of NASCAR's fan base originates. And every race felt like it mattered. Now they're always talking about the playoffs. Who's going to lock in a ticket? The playoffs. And it gets to the point where there's 40 drivers in the field, but only 16 of them matter. And then they start talking about, are the other 24 just rolling chicanes? And it's just like, how can you insult your product like that? And just seeing how, like, I remember one of the years they had Bristol had the truck race on Fox. And I decided I'd watch it. And they mentioned playoffs like 30 times. And I watched the race from 2015, and they only mentioned the championship like a handful of times, only because, Crafton is leading the championship. He's got about 20-point advantage. Now it's just playoffs. You're at Daytona for the 500. Getting ready to start the season. They won't shut up about the season finale. And it's just like, dude, we're here for the race. You're taking so much focus off of it. It's bothering me. Like, I know I just sound titled as hell saying that, but I used to love the truck race at Talladega. It was so much fun having a race on Fox, especially that one specifically. And it was so much fun to watch. And then 2016 happened, and it was like they weren't even focused on the race. Like, I'm out here, we just had the big one. There's like 18 trucks out of the race. I want to know who's running where, but I can't because the ticker's showing me playoffs nonstop. It's like, I don't care who's wearing the points. I just want to know who's here on the track battling for the win in this race I'm watching. And you don't have that issue in IndyCar. I mean, if the championship starts getting tight, yeah, they'll remind you, okay, here's the numbers so far at the end of the race or in the middle. Paddle's got to work this much to keep up with Pillow. NASCAR, it's just nonstop playoffs, nonstop. Oh, is he going to be in the final four? Oh, he's 15 out of the red zone. And it just, I feel like it draws away from the viewer. Whereas, like, rather than being informed, because things you never see NASCAR broadcasts talking about the cars or bringing in some much needed information to help the viewer understand what's going on. It's always just playoffs and stages and oh no, the drama of a guy wrecking another guy so he can stay in the playoffs, which that's just any other racing series you'd get DQ'd for that, and it's just disgusting that it's promoted left and right.
Well, you just saw it today. They're showing the clip of Kenseth taking out Logano. It comes back every time we come back to Martinsville, and it was like, well, this was the rare instance where they actually did put their foot down and say, okay, we're going to give you a suspension, and yet they promote the heck out of it every time they come back to a track where it happened. So, where's the consistency in that?
I remember one thing I always find funny is when people go, oh, there's no way you can rig a race. It's like, there's plenty of ways. I've seen it. They're all related to the playoffs. Clint Bowyer causes a spin. Brian Vickers is told to pit, gets Truex in. But then Truex and them get kicked out and docked for manipulating the race. But, I mean, they institute 100% rule. It doesn't really exist. Like 2 years later, Penske and Front Row, I think, worked out a deal where like Gilliland or whoever.
I think that was the same race, actually. I think it was.
It might have been that or like the year after.
Yeah, well, and I remember a couple of years ago that like Rick Ware and Premium, they were trying to manipulate their. I mean, everybody's focused on Kyle Busch winning a championship, but it was, I guess, the battle to not be one of the last charter teams or whatever, like some sort of prize money thing. And I mean, if they ended up succeeding in that, it got wiped out immediately because they got fined. But yeah, I don't know. The 100% rules always seem kind of silly to me because it's like, well, if you're not competing for a championship in the playoff race at Talladega and you're not concerned about stage points, you're just riding at the back in case there's a wreck or something, does that violate the 100% rule? Are they going to penalize you for that now? Like, I mean, in theory, I think you would be, right? Because if you got to give 100% of the time, you're not, then
it's got to be flat out, full throttle around the inside line until the next stage or competition caution, just like racing should be.
Yeah, competition cautions, just a major staple of racing across America. Yeah,
if I remember right, in like 14 or 16, Landon Castle would come like fourth in the fall Talladega race. They didn't even interview him because he wasn't one of the playoff drivers, despite the fact that he had a fantastic run that day.
Yeah, Tate Fogelman just won the truck race at Talladega this year, and they didn't even interview him.
Well, in his defense, he was in the infield care section.
Well, I mean, I know, but like, you had time to talk to two playoff truck drivers. I guess people are going to be like, oh, they were running long or whatever. Oh, they had college football was on FS2. They had to bump it to like. Oh, I feel like the guy who won the race should be your main priority. Like, you can wait for him 5 to 10 minutes to get out of the care center and then talk to the guy who just won his first career race on a last lap pass and a dramatic finish where he crashed. Like, that's entertaining, right? That's what we want.
It's funny when they're always like, oh, the race went long. I'm like, oh, how could that have happened? Could it be because you extended the race 12 times? You threw in 3 extra cautions that took 10 minutes for no real reason. I mean, the stages, say what you want. If they were there for the points, it'd be executed like the Endurance Cup. In Grand Am and then IMSA, the Endurance Cup, in the 4 big races, you get points in the quarterway through Daytona and Sebring, I believe, halfway through Watkins Glen, and then at the end distance. And in Petit Le Mans, it's like, what was it? It's like 3, 6, 9, 10 or something like that. It's been a while since I read into it, but that was about determining a championship within a championship. That was there. The points were there for that. They didn't do a caution or anything because that was the point of them. Stage racing solely exists to get more pretty colors on screen and more commercial time. I mean, even said once they won I think the original idea was they were going to bring the cars down pit road and interview the winning crew chief, winning midway through a race. I always thought that was silly. When I saw the first stage winner, Kyle Busch, which is the only one I can remember specifically outside of the stage winner MTJ meme, it just made me mad because they were stopping the race for no reason. I was getting less of what I came to see for some stupid format. Because if you come to see a race, I've never met anybody who came and said, I want to watch less racing. Like, I can
Yeah.
understand, okay, I want to see a few crashes, but you want them to stop the race without a crash? And I had a buddy of mine, Corey, who had told me, oh, it's great for restroom breaks and stuff. But I'm like, you have a phone. Most modern tracks have Wi-Fi. What you do is the race is always on you. I've watched an IndyCar race from the restroom before. You have the ability to do that. There's nothing stopping you from literally never missing a beat.
Yeah.
And especially now with Track Pass, NBC Gold. I mean, if I can watch the Rolex 24 at 3 in the morning, I'm sure you can watch the NASCAR race from the John.
Well, I mean, imagine if they stopped a soccer match like at the 15-minute mark and 30-minute marks, like to give fans an opportunity to go to the concession stands or go to the restroom or whatever. Like, they're going to interrupt that to get a commercial in or something. Like that's, I mean, I feel like I think the very first, like, I guess it was the Daytona 500 in 17. I was reading somebody was doing a live chat. I think Parker Clearman on NBC's Facebook page or something, and he read out a comment that was like, oh, "Okay, here's an interesting one. I like the stages, but don't throw the caution. Don't interrupt it." And in some way, I mean, I'm still not a huge fan of that, but I would definitely take that over, what we have now with stage racing. But I think, like you were saying, the main purpose of stage racing is that, yeah, you award the points and everything, but it's to create more restarts. It's to give fans something to give the drivers something to race for, so that the fans can see a race within a race or a finish within a race or whatever the case may be. But and the other thing is, it drives me crazy how long the stage cautions are. Like, they're 90% of the time there's no wreck or there's no crash or anything coming to the stage caution, so there's nothing to clean up, there's nothing to fix on the track or maintenance to do or anything. You would expect, I would think, drivers would just like come down pit road the next lap or whatever if they wanted to, and then you could just go green right away. Whereas it actually turns out to be like a 10 lap caution at a lot of tracks, even though there was absolutely no reason to, like, the track wasn't unsafe. There was no reason to throw a caution. So why are we wasting so many laps under yellow? And to the other point you were making, giving the fans less racing.
One thing I always thought was funny about it is it waters down strategy, which takes out part of the intrigue of racing. But I guess that's NASCAR's whole shtick, is if we make it easy for casuals. Well, it's not really easy because, I mean, now the championship's not really decided by who was the best all year, but rather the first car across the line, so the viewers don't have to do math. The cars are just going pedal to the metal and turning left till the next caution, which was exactly everything kids made fun of me for liking NASCAR for, and they literally turned it into that. I mean, you look at the things that suffer the most: road courses. The strategy used to be, okay, this guy's coming and he's working the race backwards, this guy's running the race forwards, this guy's just throwing audibles whenever caution comes out. So you end up with 5, 6 different guys doing different things, and you're wondering, are they all going to make it to the finish? How's this all going to work out? And it's literally just turned into pit either midway through the stage or at the end of the stage, pit midway through the stage or at the end of the stage, pit midway through the stage, you win race. The most strategy they've had is somebody calling out hot dog. Hot dog. What the hell? I've never been so disinterested in a race before. And everybody's like, oh, Sonoma's so boring. I'm like, Sonoma's not a bad racetrack. Sonoma's not boring. What NASCAR has done has just made it a slog. And the way it's been also, like with competition cautions as well. Okay, the whole point of competition caution is for teams to come in and check their tires. So why is it just treated like another caution period? If you're having the teams check tire wear on your own accord, they should all be forced to come down, check their tires, and then released in the order that came in. Not treat it like another caution period. Because if only 6 guys are coming down pit road, it apparently wasn't that important. If it wasn't that important, you're just telling me you wanted more commercial time. And I wouldn't be surprised if they added 4th stage to every race. They did at Charlotte. And then if you didn't like that, the next year they did a moment of silence in the middle. So if you didn't like stages, they would just say, you hate America. And that made me even angrier because it's like, really, you're just going to hide behind patriotism to try to make your thing seem like it makes sense. I mean, you look at the Indianapolis 500, you'd get God Bless America, taps, all this grand and glorious, both tribute and tradition prior to the start of the race. And then it's the Indy 500. The Indy 500, that's it. For the next 4 hours,
Right.
it's going to be the 33 men and women doing 240 miles an hour, one winner. The Coke 600 used to be, okay, beautiful, patriotic intro. You'd have the divers, the flags, the songs. Okay. You had the paint schemes, the track color. And it became, you got the special wheels, the special banner, the special sticker. And now we have a halftime moment of silence so that we can make the stages look like they have a purpose. And it's stuff that you could do prior to the race. And it's like the Coke 600 went from being the longest, most grueling event in NASCAR to just nothing more than an America rally. It feels like the race itself, which is the entire purpose we're here. I mean, the way the Coke 600 went from a race to what essentially felt like pandering towards, the we love America. Like, I like America. I'm not like the most patriotic, but I'm not somebody who hates the country or something. But I can see where pandering is pandering. It's not patriotism because we love America, but patriotism because we think that will get like views and good likes or something. Because I mean, when you had those patriotic schemes like the red, white, and blue M&Ms and just a different taste, we want to honor the country, so we throw the stars and the stripes on the scheme for the week. That was always cool, And that grew in a bit more and more. It was kind of neat to see how the different teams would tackle it,
Yeah.
who would put a unique spin. And it just became like it was all forced. It did feel like we were doing it out of the fun and wanting the, honor and, but rather just absolutely pander so we can get that support rather than actually honor about it, rather than make it about them, make it about NASCAR, sort of.
Yeah.
I probably don't make any sense right now.
No, I totally get what you're saying because I feel the same way. And, and honestly, like when they do stop, I mean, people, I've not been to a Coke 600 that they've done this for, so I can't speak to what the moment actually feels like. I'm sure, you feel a sense of, I mean, it's a nice moment when it's happening, but, they already do so much in the pre-race, and there's, like you mentioned, the schemes, and, the troops come out for the anthem and everything, and every driver has a fallen soldier on their windshield banner that week. They take the driver's names off and put their names on. And I love all of that. But you're doing that before the race. And I think that makes sense. But then it's time for the race. And even in spite of everything that you've already done and the entire buildup, which is, this absolutely, I mean, there's so much patriotism going on, so many things to honor the troops or whatever. Why do we need to do even more of it to interrupt the race itself? Like, Kyle Larson dominated the 600 this year. Like, imagine if he shuts his car off leading the race, for this moment of silence or whatever, and something glitches in his engine or something and the car doesn't refire. You want to talk about manipulating the race. You just took the, you gave a mechanical failure to the guy who was dominating the whole night for your special moment of silence or halftime trial, as some people were calling it. Like
the willpower you would need to get through a situation like that if you're part of the team is incredible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was you saw it in IndyCar too with Will Power this year, right? Yeah. I mean, imagine if that happened during the Coke 600 halftime time to honor the troops or a moment of silence or whatever. Like I don't see how it's you're saying, oh, if you don't like this, you're disrespecting the men and women who lay down their life. I don't think it's that at all. I think it's, why are we doing it here? You know, there's a time and place for almost everything. Why is it happening now during the race? And that's the issue.
I know people always cite, but 2009. What made 2009 unique and special was the race got postponed to Monday,
Yeah.
and it fell in the middle of the designated time for the national moment of silence. And they could have kept going, but they decided that, okay, the national moment of silence is coming up. We're going to red flag the cars, stop them on the track, honor the national moment of silence, and then continue on. And that was a beautiful gesture, because it was, okay, we know this is coming up and we're going to go out of our way to stop what we're doing, to go with what everybody else is doing, and then continue on. If the race was held on a Monday every year on an afternoon, I could understand that. Okay, you know, they understand this is going on, so they're going to stop the race for it and then keep going. Okay, that's sweet. But you're doing it on a Sunday night. And every other major event does it in the pregame, pre-race. Indy does taps before the race. They don't stop it on lap 160 and do it, you know? And everybody goes, well, that makes what NASCAR special. But I mean, what made this whole event special in the first place was it was a 600-mile event that was the most grueling on the schedule. Then when people realized, okay, it's Memorial Day weekend, let's show some spirit, that's when it started creeping in more and more. And I mean, I've seen some incredible tributes in motorsports. Back in the 90s during the Gulf War, the Gunner team, they built the Gunner 966, if I remember, which was a modified Porsche 962 with an open cockpit. This car was basically existed for PR stunts. And what they had done is they had like basically a car like cheering on our troops in the Gulf War, and they like pulled it in midway through the race to like a fan zone, and people were signing it, and some people were kind of treating like they were writing a letter to their buddy who's out fighting. People were crying. It was beautiful. And when the race was about to end, because this car was not supposed to run all 24 hours, it was never scheduled to. They brought it back out with the driver holding an American flag in his hand. He completed the final laps. And that's a pretty cool tribute, you know. And even at IMSA, you'll see like I know it's happened at Watkins Glen a few times, but I've seen, and I own diecasts of some patriotic schemes that Meyer Shank did, with the one had the Statue of Liberty and the other had Uncle Sam, and it's really cool seeing stuff like that. But when it goes from tribute to pandering, it kind of becomes a little more obvious, and that's when it bothers me. But I mean, there's, like you said, there's always a time and a place, and there's a right way of doing things, and there's always got to be the context of the situation. 2009 had, okay, it's the moment of silence. 2018, I think, is when they started doing is, hey, we're doing a halftime in our race anyways. Let's do a moment of silence. That way we get some good PR out of it. That's when it's like, you're not really doing it to do it. You're just doing it to win brownie points.
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
Yeah. I think it was 19 actually, because I had my, I was doing my radio show sophomore year, and it was a big deal. Like they were going to stop the race or whatever to honor the troops or everything. But yeah, I mean, it's fairly recent, whatever year it was, you know, so, but I guess I mean, and this is, I think the problem, you know, I go back to, you know, people argue that we should get rid of stage racing or get rid of playoffs or whatever. And, you know, I don't disagree with that, but I feel like, you know, trying to argue for that is a lost cause, because, well, now that you have introduced it, there's enough people that do like it that if you were to take it away, you'd be polarizing them, you know, even though you're pleasing another part of the fan base. Whereas if you just hadn't introduced it at all and hadn't fixed what wasn't broken, you know, nobody would even have thought of the concept more than likely, and you know, it never would have been taken too seriously as something that they could have introduced, and you know, we wouldn't find ourselves in this situation in the first place. And now, you know, the halftime moment of silence at the Coke 600, I think, is the same way. There's enough people that, you know, think it's the greatest thing that we do to honor the troops all weekend, that I don't see it going away anytime soon.
On that topic of polarizing, I know NASCAR loves to do that, and I feel like that's one reason they destroyed most of their fan base, is just like how the IndyCar split killed the fan bases and how the sports car split did the same thing. NASCAR's polarization of its own fan base with moves that half like and half hate, starts whittling away at the numbers. I mean, if you look at, I believe it was on jski.com. If you look through the news archive, like December 03, they did a poll, 'cause at the time it was rumors. It wasn't until like January of 04 that the Chase for the Cup was officially announced. And half the fans loved the idea and the other half hated it. And it's been like that for decades. Do you love this playoff system? It's stupid. I love it. It's great. Shouldn't the guy who's best all year be a champion? Brady lost the Super Bowl in 07, bro. And you can't compare racing to football, which I always love. That's the thing they go to. Bro, the Patriots lost in 07. Yeah, but man, wouldn't it be funny if the Patriots played with 31 other teams every week and you got a general idea of who's better? Let's not pretend that Quinn Hoof is a better driver than Denny Hamlin because of one race versus the other 35 they ran. And last I checked, the Cleveland Browns can't intercept you for a touchdown to make you lose the game against the, I don't know, Buccaneers. I mean, the topic of Kyle Larson, he's basically made Jeff Gordon look like a pleb this season. He's got like 9-10 wins, most laps led in a season since they've gone to 36. Wouldn't it be funny if like David Stark cut a tire, spun up the track, collected Kyle Larson, both cars in the wall in turn 2, and it's over. Dominating season, and now Joey Logano or something's champion, and I had the exact same feelings in 2018. And I'll let you know, I haven't seen a NASCAR finale since 2000, I think 17, because I wanted to make sure Truex was going to be the champion because it was going to be stupid otherwise. When I heard that you have these 3 drivers who've just been battling it out all season long, and this 4th place fiddle who's been mediocre compared to them wins the title, and I remember going, well, that's kind of stupid. He was mediocre compared to them. They're like, but he was consistent. I'm like, yeah, but the other ones were way better than him and way more consistent as well. People always get mad. Oh, well, Newman should have been champion instead of Kenseth because he had 8 wins. Yeah, he had 7 DNFs. I know I'd seen a guy who was like, oh, well, that exposed the system. I'm like, Kenseth won 1 race, but he like was never worse than like 14th for most of the season. He had 2 DNFs all year at the EA Sports 500 in the fall, where, by the way, he had taken the lead before his engine grenaded on him. And the Ford 400, where I think he had another engine failure. Roush was really bad with those that year.
But he already
And
clinched the
then
title. They were congratulating him on the pre-race show. Yeah.
And then like lap 12, it just gone. No celebration, no burnouts today. And then you look at Newman. He would win, or you'd get like a Michigan, his car's on fire. He would win, or he'd flip at Watkins Glen. He'd win, or he'd crash. He'd win, or he'd crash. There's nothing consistent about a driver like that. I remember I played NASCAR Heat Evolute, not Heat 2, my bad, the one with Cole Witt. And I thought, man, wouldn't it be funny to see if I can win a title by doing like nothing? I won 5 races. I won Daytona, ran 30th every week till Richmond. Won the next race, dead last the next 2. Won the race, dead last the next 2. Because once you win, those next 2 races might as well be pointless. Playoff points or not, I mean, a win and you're in. It doesn't matter anymore. These playoff points do little. I mean, if you truly want to reward consistency, just do a 36 race championship. Yeah, a guy might run away, but it means that when you got something special, like 2 guys battling out, it means more. I mean, Formula One's usually, okay, Lewis Hamilton's got the title. We'll watch the race, but we know the championship's decided. And then all of a sudden, Verstappen's led half the laps all season. And he's got like a 10-point advantage on Hamilton. And these guys are battling it out every week. They wrecked each other. The drama builds, and you're like, oh my God, these guys are really neck and neck. Any one of them can win it. Who's going to do it, though? Who will Lady Luck give fortune to? But when you make it, I mean, you look at all these stories, big championships. Alan Kulwicki, he was like 4th in points entering Atlanta. The main 2 guys got taken out. Allison's gone. So it's just Elliott, Kulwicki, and if somehow by the luck of God, Harry Gant or Kyle Petty can win it. Somehow, some way, if just the world catches on fire and hell freezes over. And Allison gets in his crash, and it becomes between Kulwicki and Elliott. And all Kulwicki has to do is just stay up. They're telling him pit, but he knows he's got to get the most laps led, or he's not winning this championship. He comes down pit road, and then the gas man's like, uh-oh, because he doesn't know if he put enough fuel in. if this car runs out, it's on him. They're not going to win. And then you get that call. It was like Bill Elliott comes out of turn number 4 to win the Hooters 500. But we're focusing on Alan Kulwicki because he will be the champion for 1992. But every year, and I mean, I believe the cheated up conspiracy, because there's no way in hell the top 4 in the title are always 1, 2, 3, 4, aside from accidents, 2016. And it's always he wins the title and the championship, wins the title and the championship. Prior to like 2011 or 2016, it only happened like 3 or 4 times. It was like Stewart because of playoffs. I think Johnson did it in 06. Might be wrong on that.
I think Biffle had like a string of 3 in a row at Homestead. I think 06
might be,
but it
4,
was
5,
it was
6.
very rare. I think I remember when Harvick did it the first year that they had the elimination. It was like only the 4th time ever that the champion won the last race, but it's happened every year since in Cup. Xfinity and Truck have had a few that they didn't win the Homestead race. Crafton, namely, didn't win any race and still.
Yeah,
how do you like that?
Yeah,
a
when the winner
system
take all
where
format has a winless champion, that's even better. Like
Yeah.
my whole thing is, if you can win the championship without winning a race, you must have been damn good, because you must be. I mean, not the luckiest guy, because the guy in front never like blew an engine or got loose on the corner or something, but you were always up there, which means you were pretty good throughout the whole year and you're deserving of the championship. But with the whole elimination format, it just comes funny because you're resetting the points. So now everything that happened prior is meaningless. So all he's got to do is come second and beat you. And he could be 15th all year long, but if he comes second, he's ahead of you. I'm sorry, but he's the champion. You've won 35 races. Well, he beat you in the last one. You sped. Like, wow, you should have been faster. And I always thought that was funny. The fact that he was a winless champion. And I mean, the most recent we've had otherwise is Austin Dillon. But why is that? Oh, he's racing Cup guys and he's not better than them. Okay. Too bad, so sad. I mean, Stenhouse could do it. He won against Cup guys. Forget who the 2011 champion was in Nationwide. Oh, wait, Stenhouse.
went back to back, yeah.
Yeah.
But
if Stenhouse was able to win, Dillon couldn't. I always thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, the whole idea of a winless champion should be that they're good, but they can't get a perfect race down. But now it's the whole idea of that winning means everything. I mean, okay, the idea in 2014 was cool for a few weeks. Oh my God, Dale Jr. knows he's locked in, so he's just gonna go for it. He doesn't think he has enough gas, but he's gonna go for it anyway, try to win. Yeah, that lasted about 3 weeks, and then you just never saw anything like that again. It was just like, I'm locked into the playoffs, I'm gonna play it safe anyway. And I mean, there's really no incentive to. And then you always got your guy who runs 29th every week, gets a lucky win, and now he's championship contender. I know I was laughing at one of my friends online because he was upset that McDowell was probably eliminated because he wrecked at Darlington. And I was like, oh no, the guy who runs 20th every week isn't going to be the title. He's not going to win championship. I'm so surprised. How could you ever have expected that? You're disappointed? You actually thought he was going to beat the guys who win every week? Like, he couldn't even get 16th in points. What makes you think if he couldn't get 16th or 10th on merit that he's going to do it through a series of point resets in 3 race increments? I always thought that was the funniest thing. You had Busher, your boy Allmendinger did it the first year.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what I said this on my show as well. Like, imagine, like, let's just say with the way the schedule works out, because he's very good on road courses, he's very good at Martinsville, right? So let's say, he wins Watkins Glen, so he's in. And I mean, maybe he has some solid runs in the first round, and he advances through the first round. We'll grant him that. Maybe he puts up a top 10 here or there. He goes out, wins the Roval.
Which,
all right,
didn't he do this year?
In Xfinity, he's done it the last 3 years in Xfinity, but got a shot in Cup. 3? I think the Kaulig engine went away in Cup, which was a bummer. But so he's in the round of 8, and then he's finished second in Martinsville twice in the Cup Series. So let's say he finds a way, puts him a drive of his life, wins at Martinsville, and then at Homestead, Carl Edwards is in a crash, but he takes out the other 2 championship contenders as well. So Allmendinger finishes 3 laps down in 22nd or whatever, And but he's your champion because he's the only one of the final four but still left, and he just and like it's my all-time favorite driver, but at the same time, like there's no reason, with JTG Doherty, a mid-pack team, somebody who excels in the road courses but kind of runs in the middle of the pack week to week, they shouldn't be the champions. And that's not a knock against them. It's just, it's how it is. It's how you're running all year. It would be, it just wouldn't seem right. But I would love to see this year, think about him going for Xfinity with Cindric and how close that battle is and how close that battle could be naturally on merit if there were no playoffs and how exciting that would be. But imagine if Daniel Hemrick, who has never won a NASCAR race, not just him, I don't think even just in a national series, but I don't think he won K&N. I think he's done a couple modified starts. I don't think he has a win anywhere. And he's finished second 10 times. So, he's just like you were saying, he's one of those guys that, hasn't quite broken through, hasn't been lucky enough to win one yet. But what if he were to win the championship at Phoenix this year with 0 career NASCAR wins in this era, in this system?
Oh, that'd be beautiful. I could actually attend that race. I'm gonna be buying tickets to the ARCA West race, which, mind you, is free with the Xfinity ticket. So if my girlfriend decides she does want to stay till like 10 o'clock to watch a race for some reason, I could watch your homeboy AJ Allmendinger get wrecked by David Starr on the final lap for Daniel Hemrick to come across the line, win his first ever race and his first ever championship, with Rick Allen screaming off top of his head about how it's the greatest accomplishment ever. He started at a go-kart shop, worked his way through the ranks, went to Cup, came back. Redemption for Daniel Hemrick. Oh, it's so dumb, but it's how Rick Allen calls it. He always says something like he always has to like build a story in like 30 seconds.
Yeah. And I feel like Rick just has this booming voice. I feel like he has potential, and I feel like you saw it.
He can get so excited. His voice gets good when it's excited.
Yeah,
but even when he gets excited, he starts saying stuff like "aggressive goes around."
Yeah, he could be so great, and I feel like on the rare instances where he does nail it, like and again, say what you will about the playoff system, but Jimmy winning his 7th, I think that's the best call probably of his career. Just because the pressure to nail that call with the historical significance behind it.
It's going to be replayed quite a few times.
Yeah. Just going to be replayed, for the rest of the time.
Thank God.
And I thought he did yeah. Oh man. Yeah. But then, they go back to that call and listen to it, make room, Petty and Earnhardt, another 7-time champ. He did a great job there, but it's just, 80 to 90% of the time, I think there was an Xfinity race at Texas, late in the playoffs. I think it was 1 or 2 seasons ago, just like, I don't know if Ryan Sieg was running in 3rd and he was trying to mention Sieg, having this strong run for an underdog as he's trying to call the winner at the same time. And it just, I don't know, it didn't blend very well. So when he's on his game in the rare instances where he is, I feel like he's actually pretty good, but he just gets memed into oblivion because, it's almost like he's trying too hard. Like, I don't know if there's just been more pressure on him since he started doing Cup when he moved to NBC, but it's, I don't know. It can be frustrating to listen to sometimes.
It reminds me of Marty Reed. Marty Reed, you get wonderful things like, I'm here with Indianapolis winner Dale Jarrett and Indianapolis winning crew chief. I know who you are. And then, Brian Blaney wins. And then there's the white flag. And it's like, oh no. But then for every moment like that, you get people always ask me why I sign off until next we meet again. Because goodbyes are always so final. Goodbye, Dan Weldon. And then it's like for every like really stupid thing he says like the most beautiful thing ever. And when it seemed like whenever tragedy hit a race that Marty Reed was calling, he handled it beautifully. And I'd seen a clip of him at Dan Weldon's funeral. And one thing he was reminded of when that happened was Sid Collins, the late great announcer for the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. In I want to say it was 64. The first year
he had the eulogy like prepared for Eddie Sachs, I think, right?
Yeah, he did it completely on the spot on the radio, and there's a video on YouTube that has it, and he says death has 1,000 more doors, but Eddie Sachs leaves this earth and that of a race car. And for something that was so impromptu, it was like the words just came to him like a sacred typewriter. It was just
Yeah.
one of the most beautiful things I had ever heard. It brought tears to my eye. And I always thought it was amazing how, I mean, Marty Reed, I liked him as a kid. I know people meme him to death.
Yeah.
The
Yeah. I mean,
final nail
I
in the
know he's not the
coffin.
most popular, but oh yeah, the nail in the coffin thing.
That
Yeah.
one's funny.
Yeah.
But
That was a Jimmy Championship that could have gone better, from the
one,
booth. But
one thing I loved about Marty Reed is every year at the Indy 500, he'd always start off, they'd start running out of four, and the 100th Indianapolis 500 is green, and then they'd hit the line right when he says green, and I always thought that was a good way of hyping up the race because you start to him get more excited, he's putting more emphasis on everything, then it's like boom, a force of energy hits, and then all the cars start whizzing by. Wonder what he's up to. I wonder if he's like Bill Weber doing like pulling rabbits out of a hat and stuff.
yeah, he ran for like county council in Indiana, I think, this past
Oh,
election.
man.
Oh, you remember that?
I think I barely remember something about
Yeah,
that.
he did some like political
Oh
ads
man,
on. Yeah, I mean
Mayor
it was for
Marty
like a
Reed.
very, yeah, it was definitely a very local election, and I don't even think he ended up being elected, but
Probably did.
yeah, it's an interesting career change. Go from play-by-play on national television for the two top motorsports series in the world or in the country, and then you just try to have this local politics career. That's interesting, but
The concession speech must have been incredible. The final nail in the coffin of my cannondorial race has been hammered in.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I want to be fair here because, we can meme when those guys screw up all the time, but it is such a difficult job, like live play by play, in any sport, it's just, you have to really know what you're talking about and be prepared for any circumstance that comes your way. And then when you take that and make the speed 200 miles an hour and, especially nowadays with all the playoffs and people tracking stage points and huge championship implications or whatever, I mean, like we can make fun of Rick Allen all we want, but I mean, it's a difficult job to do, and I'm fully confident that the vast majority of race fans couldn't do it any better than he does. So it's a tough job.
And with the television broadcast, one thing I've always thought was amazing is they don't like cut themselves off like constantly. Like Jeff Byrne doesn't just start talking over Steve Letarte every 10 seconds. I mean, it happens on occasion. I've heard race calls. I will say it was like one of the Indy 500s. You got like, what was his name? Eddie Cheever. He's saying one thing, and Marty Reed just starts screaming, "Oh, like Thomas Schechter 2002." And I'm here thinking, like, but that was midway through the race. He wasn't going to win the Indy 500. In fact, that year, Paul Tracy and Castroneves battled it out. But yeah, they're all like screaming over each other. And I mean, yeah, it's great because they're all excited and hyped up. So like, oh my God. But then on TV, it just sounds like 8 guys screaming over each other. And you don't know what they're saying.
Yeah.
And then when you got like a radio broadcast, what makes it nice is that one guy's focusing on this corner and he'll send it to the next guy, who's going to win it, Bob? And they beautifully wrap it all together and send it to the next guy. And I've always thought it was amazing how they're able to pull that stuff off every week.
Yeah, well, I remember it took me a long time to figure out what Marty Reed was referencing when he said like Hildebrand hits the wall just like Schechter.
That was
to make
like
sure,
the
but
second Indy 500 I ever watched, the 2011 race.
yeah.
That was incredible. I was screaming. I actually thought Hildebrand won for a second. I didn't know Dan Weldon was there. And all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, Dan Weldon's won this race.
Yeah, well, I think everybody
man.
was just in like a state of shock, seeing when he gets the wall on the last corner.
And like to lose the race like that, I know that it's got to be like Marco Andretti for him. You were this close. You literally lost it on the home straight, and that's got to eat at you. Like, I mean, Hildebrand's a super smart dude. He does a lot of stuff outside of racing, but every year he's got to think, I got to get Indy. I have to get Indy. And it must become more and more frustrating every year that he can't do it because he knows there's a timeline. That timeline's running out slowly. Like, you look at Marco, 2006. Oh man, the call is beautiful. Oh, the headlines are going to read: a teenager wins at debut in Indianapolis. Can Marco Andretti win it? He comes out, and all of a sudden, Hornish, with the most perfectly timed pass in history, beats him at the line, and everyone's just like, "Oh my God!" Oh man,
Yeah.
it's amazing how auto race can just bring out these emotions with some of these super iconic finishes. Every form has one. Supercars has the 2014 Bathurst. NASCAR, I'd argue it's Darlington 03 when they're all slamming into the wall, dive bomb, and just try to get that win, and ends in a photo finish where just everything just comes together. The intensity of the final moments and everything's just come right together in one spot.
Yeah. Well, man, I know you said you wanted to try to keep it to an hour. So,
I think we might have exceeded that a bit.
yeah, that's all right. Well, like I was telling Kyle, the other week, I want to have you back at some point because, I know your whole account now is based on sports cars, and I feel like we hardly even got into that. So, definitely want to get you back at some point.
One day, my video on the Chase DP will come out. One day.
Yeah, you're working on that, right?
The far future. I am, but I just never find the time. And whatever I write, I don't like. I just feel like I'm not nailing it the way I should. I really certainly get working on that.
Yeah, certainly quality over quantity, I think, is
Amen.
Generally good philosophy. But yeah, well, I'll let you enjoy the rest of your evening. I guess it's only Arizona's weird, right? Are you 3 hours behind now or 2 hours behind? Because you don't do daylight savings.
It should be 3 still. It says 6:45 right now.
Yeah. So I'll let you enjoy the rest of your evening. And you have anything you want?
You can subscribe to me at AZ Sports Car 80. You can also follow me on Twitter and my Instagram. I also have a Plato account, PLATO. If you want to play games with me, that's AZ Diecast 80. It's really fun. You should join me. I also have like a subreddit for IMSA collectors that I can't post on because my phone won't let me do photos on Reddit. You can also follow me on Reddit at user AZ Sports Car 80. I think, and eBay AZ Sports Car 80. I'm just going to be a shrill and just absolutely plug everything here.
No, well,
I'll send you like 80 photos to upload just in this section alone. Just sell out, buying advertising space on the Ben Schneider show at the end of every episode. Buying my stuff.
Well, that's great. I was going to give you a chance to plug whatever you wanted to. I think we got pretty much all of it there. So, yeah. Well, man, thanks again for joining me. I know this was kind of last minute, and thanks for putting up with the technical difficulties we had at the start. But I'm glad we were able to get this done and try to get this out sometime next week for you. So thanks again.
No worries. It's nice actually being able to talk to you since you live on the other side of the country. Now we just got to get Kyle, Will, and Ethan, and then maybe Jared if he's still in the group chat, and then maybe we can somehow make this work 6 ways.
Yeah. Yeah. Or I don't know. Maybe I can make it out west, and we can. I guess you got Will still. We got to get Will out here, but
you gotta get Will in a car from Wisconsin, just drive him down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe we can have him find a team to stow away with. Who knows?
Yeah. I'm serious though about trying to get out there for something next year. So I'll keep you posted on that. But yeah, like I said, if anytime you want to come back, just let me know. We'll try to schedule something. And yeah, man, I'll talk to you soon. Enjoy the rest of your night.
All right, man. You have a good one, Ben.
All right, sounds good.